thought it was easier to leave you a little video explaining more about the stool test and the sort of results you can expect. Now, this is a sample report, but this is a pretty good reference point for what you might expect yourself, depending on symptoms and things. So this is traffic light system at the top, and this tells us whether there's expected bacteria that we expect to see there. Where it says no growth, that's NG, no growth, then that gives me a picture that there is dysbiosis. So some of the bacteria that should be there are not. And then we've got this commensals, which are neither good nor bad, but it does give us a picture of overgrowth. And then this is clearly overgrowth and dysbiotic species. So these species are the nasty ones that can cause a lot of symptoms. So this gives us a very good view from the get-go of what's going on here. Then we go down to yeast culture. This often could be a problem, but the normal flora, we expect this fungi sort of species to be in the gut. That's normal. If they were over in the pink side, that will again give us some indication that there is a yeast overgrowth. Then you come down to pathogens. So these are the really nasty ones we don't want to see in there. And possibly if there was a picture like this, I would be sending you back to your GP and get them to test you. And that would probably require some antibiotics. But we'll come on to that again in a moment. Microscope. So under the microscope, this is what we can see. They're checking for parasites, worms, nematodes, things like that. More common than you think and can drive a lot of symptoms. So it's worth ruling out. So that's the brilliant thing about this test, is it does parasites and everything, as well as bacterial species, inflammation markers. And then in here, we can see if there's a yeast overgrowth, red blood cells, white blood cells, how you're digesting fibres. And then my favourite bit down here is stool chemistries, and this is where I can tell if you're digesting protein, carbohydrate, fats appropriately, and that can be indicative of a lot of symptoms as well. So this is a really good picture of how you're actually able to accept food, break it down, and if that's part of the picture rather than just thinking about parasites and bacteria. Inflammation markers, if these are out of range, that's a referral back to the GP for them to run their own tests. And then we can see if there's an immune response inside the gut, at the gut lining, in response to something in the gut is not happy about being there. That's a good overview of if you're getting immune reaction to things. And then my favourite bit is the short chain fatty acids. I'll explain more if you're interested why that's so important, but all I can tell you at a snapshot for this video is that we want these to be in a good range, because that really tells me the health of the gut environment and how the bacteria are behaving inside the gut. And this is quite a good indicator if there's anxiety and sort of stress related symptoms going on as well. Then we can look at you're making sure that the pH is right. So that gives me an idea of whether the bacteria are driving a lot of acidy diarrhea. Then the brilliant thing about this test is if there is something picked up like that we saw at the beginning in the dysbiotic column, it tells us what natural antimicrobials are most sensitive and most likely to work. So that gives us a very targeted plan of action if we decide to go down the natural antibacterial route. If there was a lot out of range and you decide that, okay, I just think I need to go back to the GP, it tells the GP which antibiotics are most susceptible against those bacterial species or pathogens. So it's a really, really helpful test. I hope you found that helpful and insightful, and I'm sure you're going to have lots more questions. You can see this report goes on and on, but it's a brilliant test. I use it all the time in my clinic to help people find answers when they're sick of guessing, and I think that's the stage you've got to by the sounds of it. If you've got more questions, you want to have a chat, I'm happy to jump on a call and tell you more about anything that you want to ask. So I hope that has been helpful.